Hello everyone, you're all welcome to this video. I remain your tutor, Mr. Life Changer. In this video, I'm going to be taking us on a tour on angle of elevation and depression, and we are going to be seeing 20 MCQs, multiple choice questions on angles of elevation and depression that would help you smash any exams. Okay. So we start with angle of elevation. Angle of elevation is the angle between the eye level and a line joining the eye and an object above the eye. Let's say this is the eye and this is the eye level. The eye level is a horizontal line. This is an object above the line, above the eye. This is the line joining the eye to the object. So that angle that is formed is what we call the angle of elevation. This theta here is called angle of elevation. And at the end of the day, you can see that this gives us a right angle triangle. So angle of elevation always leads us to a right angle triangle. That means most likely you're going to apply the SOHCAHTOA to solve questions on angle of elevation, right? Then when it comes to angle of depression, before we go ahead to see question, this is angle of depression. Now, in angle of depression, you also have the eye level. The eye level means the horizontal line at the level of the eye. Then you have an object below the eye. So depression is you are looking below the eye. Elevation is like you are looking above the eye. So you have a line joining the eye and the object that is below the eye. Can you see that? So an angle is formed between them. That angle that is formed, this angle now, is called angle of depression. And usually in calculation, this angle of depression, we don't usually, when you're asked to calculate the distance, let's say I erect or I extend a parallel line to this angle is also the same thing as the angle of depression. You're going to see this a lot in calculation that has to do with angle of depression. Okay, where this is theta, but you should also know that this is theta in case you're asked to find height or something. And angle of depression also give rise to right angle triangle. So we are going to be using a lot of SOHCAHTOA or Pythagoras theorem. So now let's go ahead to see questions on angle of elevation and depression. Okay, so we look at the first one. It says that a man stands 40 meters away from the base of a building. He observes that the top of the building at an angle of elevation of 35. You see the top of the building and the elevation is 35. So calculate the height of the building correct to the nearest. I think this is quite very easy because the first thing we are supposed to observe is the eye level. Okay, they say the distance, the man is 40 meters away from so this is 40 meters. This is where the man is standing, and this is the building, the height of the building. Elevation means you are looking up, so I will draw a line from here to the top of the building, and that's what we have. So this angle here gives us the angle of elevation, which is 35 degrees. Now we are asked to find the height of the building. This is the height of the building, H. This is how it works. So if you notice, like I said, this forms a right angle triangle. So we usually use the SOHCAHTOA principle to solve this. So H is opposite, 40 is adjacent. Okay, so I can say H over 40 is equal to tan theta, because opposite over adjacent is tan, that's TOA. Tan is opposite over adjacent, you see that? And so H is going to be equal to 40 tan theta. Okay, theta is 35 degrees, so that's 40 tan 35. And already we are given that tan 35 is 0.7 approximately, so I will just say 40 times 0.7. That's going to give us 28 meters. 28 meters. So 28 meters is the answer to that question. You see? Quite easy. Now the next one says from the top of a cliff 80 meter high, a boat is observed at the angle of depression. Now this is now depression, you are going down. So let's assume that this is the cliff, and the cliff is 80-meter high, and the boat is somewhere down here, so you are looking down this way, you see. And let's say this is the eye level, and the angle here is the angle of depression, which is 20 degrees. And like I said, this forms a right angle triangle. And like I showed you earlier, that this 20 degrees here is the same thing as here, 20 degrees, because they are alternate angles. And you will always do this as long as you are dealing with angle of depression. And we can now solve this. The question is, how far is the boat from the foot of the cliff? This is the boat here, this is the foot of the cliff, and we ask how far, so I can call here x. Now if you notice, 80 is opposite, x is adjacent, is the same thing, so I say 80 over x is equal to tan 20. Actually, in most cases, both angle of elevation and depression, tan is usually the TOA. Tan is usually the trig ratio that is used. So in this case now, 80 over x is equal to tan 20. From here is 0.3640, and so we can go ahead and find, that means x now, if you cross multiply, x is going to be 80 divided by 0.3640, and 80 divided by 0.3640 would be about 220 meters. 220 meters. You can use your calculator to confirm that. So C is the answer, right? Now the next question says, a ladder leans against a vertical wall. Okay, this is a vertical wall and this is the ladder. You see, the foot of the ladder is 5 meters from the wall. This is the foot of the ladder, this is the wall, and it is 5 meters from the wall. You see that? And the ladder makes an angle of 60 degrees with the ground. So this is the ladder, it makes an angle of 60 degrees with the ground. This is the ground. Can you see that? Find the length of the ladder. So the length of the ladder, let's call here h. Oh, the length of the ladder, sorry, the length of the ladder is L. This is the ladder, this is the wall. Okay, so if you notice, the relationship between this is that 5 is adjacent to 60 degrees, this is definitely 90 degrees, then YL is hypotenuse. So adjacent and hypotenuse is CA, that's cos. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So I'm going to say that, I'm going to write here that cos 60 is equal to the adjacent is 5, the hypotenuse is L, that's the length of the ladder. So cos 60 is 0.5 is equal to 5 over L. And if I cross multiply, L is going to be equal to 5 divided by 0.5, and that is going to give us 10 meters. So B is the answer to this question. You see, quite easy, right? So that leads us to the next one. It says 2 points A and B on opposite sides of a tower. Okay, so here we have a tower and the 2 points are on opposite sides. So one is here and the other is here. That's how it works. Opposite sides of the tower. You know, these are the kind of questions to expect. Now the angle of elevation of the top of the tower from A is, okay, let me label this A and label this B. So the angle of elevation of the top of the tower from A is 30 degrees. Elevation from A, this elevation means you're looking upward, so it looks upward like this, and the elevation here is 30 degrees. You see that? And from B is 45 degrees. So from B this way, I put it this way, is 45 degrees. So here the elevation is 45 degrees. Now if the tower is 20 meters high, I'm going to put here to be 20 meters. Find the distance AB. That's simple. This is A and this is B. Well, not much information is given, but remember that this line here is a right angle, the same thing, right angle to both sides. So in order to find AB, it will be easier to call here X. I can find, let me make here C. Okay, I can find AC and I can find CB. I can call here Y. Then I know that AB is going to now be equal to X plus Y, because that's the whole length, right? Because I'm asked to find the distance AB from A to B. but there is no rule that can help me find this directly. So I have to find AC since this is a right angle triangle, and I have to find CB since this is also a right angle triangle. I hope you get that. Now if I consider this first right angle triangle, let me make it a D. That means if I consider triangle ACD, in this case now, 20 is opposite, x is adjacent. So I'm going to say 20 over x is equal to tan 30. Okay? So 20 over x is going to be equal to tan 30 is 0.5774 is given already. So that means your x is going to be 20 divided by 0.5774, and that is going to be 20 divided by 0.5774. Let me use my calculator here. Okay, so 20 divided by 0.5774, and so we are getting 34.64. So I'm going to write here 34.64, or I will just say 34.6 meters, since this is just one decimal place. Then to find y, 20 is opposite of 45, y is adjacent, so I'm going to say 20 over y is equal to tan 45, right? So 20 over y is going to be, tan 45 is 1. So that means y is going to be equal to 20 divided by 1, which is 20 meters. So that means your AB now, which is x plus y, is going to be 34.6 plus 20. And 34.6 plus 20 is going to give us 54.6. So the answer is 54.6 meters. You see that? Makes a lot of sense. So these are the kind of questions to expect. Now the next one says, from a point P on the ground, the angle of elevation of the top of a tree is 27 degrees. This is the tree. This, let me say, this is the point P on the ground. Elevation is always looking up, right? And the angle is 27 degrees Celsius. This is how to go about it. Very simple. If P is 15 centimeters from the base of the tree, this is the tree, this is P, and it's 15 meters from the base of the tree. Find the height of the tree. I will call here H. And this does the job. So H is opposite, 15 is adjacent. So you're going to have H over 15 is equal to, that's opposite over adjacent, is equal to tan 27. That means H over 15 is equal to tan 27 is 0.5095. So that means H is going to be equal to 15 times 0.5095, and here we are going to get 7.6 meters if you use your calculator. So the answer to this question is A. Very, very easy, right? Very easy. Now that leads us to the next question. Now this one says a pilot flying at a height of 1,200 meters. That's very high. Observe two towns, X and Y, on the same horizontal plane. You should be reading. You should see, what do I call that now? You should see the instruction, the little details that can give us an idea. So the plane, this is the plane at a height, and the height above the ground is 1,200 meters. And it observed 2 points, 2 towns, X and Y. So that means there are 2 towns on the ground, and they are on the same side, remember, on the same horizontal plane. So maybe one is here and the other is here. I can call here X and I can call here Y, right? And it says that the angle of depression of X and Y are 30 degrees and 45 degrees. Okay, now I'm going to say something here. It is obvious that here is X and here is Y. Now you're going to wonder, why do we say so? Oh, this is not right. It says, the rest of the statement says, and X and Y are on opposite sides of the aircraft. Okay, so I would have to clean this. X and Y are on opposite sides of the aircraft. Opposite sides means they are not on the same side. So this is 1200 meters, the height of the aircraft above the ground. Then on one side here you have x, on the other side here you have y, and the angle of depression here is 30 degrees. I'm going to write it here, 30 degrees. But remember, actually depression should be your horizontal line and this 30. But like I said, alternate angles. So if here is 30, here is also 30. But this is the angle of depression. The same thing here, the angle of depression here, I'm going to write here 45 degrees, even though this is the actual angle of depression here, the eye level and the depression. So here is going to be 45 degrees. This is right angle. And now we have to find the distance xy. I think we've done something like this before. I can find here A, let me call here P. I can find this distance A and find this distance B, and that will give me xy. I can say xy is going to be equal to A plus B. So it's easy to find A. A, if you, according to, for 30 degrees, A is the adjacent. This is the, 1200 is the opposite, and YA is adjacent. So I would say 1200 divided by A is equal to tan 30. So that means A will be 1200 divided by tan 30, which is going to be equal to 1200 divided by tan 30, divided by, that will be 1200 divided by 0.5774, and that will be equal to, let me use my calculator here, 1200 divided by 0.5774. Okay, now this is giving me 2078.28. So this is equal to 2078.28, right? I can write it here. So A is equal to 2078.28. Now for us to find B, B is adjacent, 1200 is opposite. So I would say opposite, which is 1200, over adjacent, which is B, is equal to tan 45. Okay, so B now will be 1200 divided by tan 45. Tan 45 is 1. So that means 1200 divided by 1, so 1200. So that means my A plus B is going to be 2078.28 plus 1200. That is going to give me 3278.28. Okay, so that's the answer. And the one closest to this is this one here. So the answer is C, 3277. Okay, very good. Now another one here says a boy 1.5 meter tall stands 10 meter away from a mast. Here the boy has a height 1.5 meters, stands 10 meters away from a mast. So this is 10 meters and this is mast. A mast is definitely bigger than the boy, taller than the boy. The angle of elevation of the top of the mast from the boy's eyes, is this the boy's eyes, is 40 degrees. So you are going to draw a straight line from here to the top, right? And remember, you will draw a horizontal line. In elevation, you must have the horizontal line, then you will have the line that goes up, right? And the elevation, this is the elevation, is 40 degrees. So now we are asked to find the height of the mast. Now this should not be a problem. With your little knowledge of geometry, you will agree with me that this is a rectangle. And if this is a rectangle, what it means is that if here is 1.5, here will also be 1.5 meters. Yeah. And if here is 10, if from here to here is 10, here to here is also 10, because this is a rectangle. A rectangle, two sides are equal. The two opposite sides are equal, right? Now this is the height of the mast, but at least I have been able to find this part, which is 1.5. The remaining will be this part here, which is x. And if you notice, x is opposite to 40, 10 is adjacent. So I'm going to say x over 10 is equal to tan 40. Okay, so x is going to be equal to 10 tan 40, or you say 10 times tan 40 is 0.8391, and if I multiply this, it's going to be 8.391, right? So that is what x is. So if I want to find the height of the mask, it's going to be this x plus this 1.5. You see that? Because the height of the mask is from here upwards. But in Pythagoras theorem, this is the only thing I can use to find Pythagoras theorem. So it's going to be x plus 1.5, and x is already 8.391 plus 1.5, and that is going to give us, this is 9.891. So that's approximately 9.9 meters. Okay, so this is a mistake here. The answer is 9.9 meters, which is B. Okay, very important. Now that leads us to the next one. The next one says, from the top of a building 12 meter high, the angle of depression of a car parked on the ground is 25 degrees. The top of a building, this is the building, this is the top of the building. The angle of depression, this is depression. This is the angle of depression, 25 degrees. The angle between the horizontal line and this, right? So, and I already told you that as long as you are dealing with depression, if this is 25, here will also be 25 degrees. Always note that. And the height of the building is 12 meters. And so how far is the car from the base of the building? This is the base of the building, this is the car, and that's what we are looking for. I'm going to use x here. So 12 is opposite, x is adjacent. So I'm going to say 12 over x is equal to tan 25. So x is going to be 12 divided by tan 25, which is 12 divided by 0.4663. Okay, so let me use my calculator here. 12 divided by 0.4663. This is giving me 25.7 approximately. So I'm going to say my answer here is 25.7 meters, which is A. I hope all of this is making sense and is leading us to the right direction. So let's see more. There are more. Okay, so this one says, a surveyor standing 50 meters from the base of a tower observes its top at an elevation of 48 degrees. Okay, find the height of the tower. So let's say this is the tower and the observer is somewhere here, and elevation, this is elevation, elevate. Okay, so this is 48 degrees, and we are asked to find the height of the tower, and the surveyor is standing 50 meters from the base of the tower. So for us to find h, very simple. H is opposite over 50 is adjacent, is equal to tan 48. Okay, because opposite of adjacent is tan, that's 12, right? So your h is going to be 50 tan 48, and which is going to be 50 times tan 48 is 1.1106. So 1.1106. Okay, and if you do that, you are going to get 5.5530. Okay, so sorry, 55.530. 55.5 is the best answer here. Okay, now the next one says, the angle of elevation of the top of a pole from a point 20 meters away on the same horizontal plane is 60 degrees. What is the height of the pole? Very simple. This is the height of the pole. You can see now that you don't need to stress yourself. This is the pole, and this is the distance to the pole, which is 20 meters, and we are asked to find the height of the pole, and this is the elevation, and this is the angle of elevation, which is 60 degrees. You see, you don't need to stress yourself anymore in doing things like this. So you can just simply say h is opposite, 20 is adjacent, so h over 20 is equal to tan 60. Okay, that means h is going to be equal to 20 tan 60, which is 20 times tan 60 is 1.7321, and that would be 34.642. okay, so approximately 34.6 meters. So the answer is A. Okay, so we still have more questions to go. Now this one says a man on a cliff observes a boat at an angle of depression of this. The cliff is 100-meter high. How far is the boat from the foot of the cliff? The same thing. This is the cliff, and the cliff is 100-meter high, and the boat should be somewhere here, and the depression is this way, right? So the depression is like this, which is 30 degrees. But like I told you, in depression, if this is 30, this is also 30, right? It's always like that. So we are asked to find how far is the boat from the foot of the cliff. Let's call here x. So this is opposite and x is adjacent. So I'm going to say 100 over x is equal to tan 30. You see that? And 100 over x is equal to, here we are expected to leave our answer in surd form. So you should know that. Look up for my video on surds. On special angles, trigonometric ratios of special angles. So tan 30 here is 1 over root 3. So if we cross multiply, your x is going to be equal to 100 root 3. So that's the answer to that question. The answer is A. Very easy, right? Okay, this one says if the elevation of the sun is 63 degrees, what is the length of the shadow cast by a vertical pole 8-meter high? This is interesting. Now this is the sun, right? And this is the distance of the sun from the ground, and this is another point on the ground that is looking at the sun. Okay, this is the pole. Let me call here the pole. The pole is 8 meters. Now when the sun shines on the pole, it will cast a shadow like this that will end somewhere here. It is using the principle, for those of you that are science students, it uses the principle of light traveling in a straight line. So the shadow will go this way. Light will always travel in a straight line, and here we form a shadow. This is where the shadow will be formed, from here to here. If I label this now, let me say this is A and B, C. I can call here D, then call here E. So the shadow, the length of shadow, I can put it this way, length of shadow is AE. Please never you forget the principle of light traveling in a straight line. So when an object, a man or a pole, stands in the way of a sun, okay, the light will still travel in a straight line, but it's going to create a shadow from the man to that point where the light is touching. So that's exactly what we did here. Now these are the kind of questions you should expect, right? And it says that the angle of elevation of the sun is 63 degrees. So this is 63 degrees. This is 63 degrees. That's the angle of elevation, right? What is the length of the shadow cast by a vertical pole 8 meter high? So this is exactly what we have. And we are not given the height here, so we don't know. And we are just interested in the shadow. Okay, this already solves the problem because 8 is opposite, x is adjacent. I thought it was something more complex. I would have, showed you guys some mathematics skills. So 8 is opposite, so I'm going to say 8 over x is adjacent. 8 over x is equal to tan 63. So that means x now is going to be 8 divided by tan 63. That means 8 divided by tan 63 is 1.9626. And when you say 8 divided by 1.9626, the answer is 4.1 meters. So B is the answer to that question. Very, very easy. Very, very easy. Sometimes you may even be asked to find height here. You can do some manipulations here. This looks like a similar triangle, but that's by the way. I'm not going to bother you with that. Then for those of you that are saying, why won't the angle of elevation be here? Yeah, the angle of elevation can also be here, 63 degrees. It's still the same thing. Their corresponding angle, no matter at what point, the angle of elevation will still be 63 degrees. Okay, it's constant throughout. Okay, that's by the way. Now this one says, from a point 30 meters away from the base of a flagpole on the same level ground, the angle of elevation of the top is 40 degrees. Find the height of the flagpole. From the point 30 meters away from the base of a flagpole, this is the flagpole, this is the point here, and it is 30 meters away from the base of the flagpole. The angle of elevation of the top is 40 degrees. Elevation from here, it looks up. This is elevation, 40 degrees. Find the height of the flagpole. This is quite direct. 30 is, h is opposite, 30 is adjacent. So I'm going to say h over 30 is equal to tan 40. So that means h is going to be equal to 30 tan 40, which is 30 times 0.8391. And 30 times this is going to give us 25.2 meters. So that is the answer to that question. Quite easy, right? Okay, so the next one is, a lighthouse is 60 meters tall. A ship observes the top of the lighthouse at an angle of elevation of 15 degrees. How far is the ship from the foot of the lighthouse? The same thing. Let's say this is the lighthouse. It is 60 meters tall, and this is the ship in front of the lighthouse, and the elevation is 15 degrees. Okay, how far is the ship? So let's say that this is the distance here. This is opposite over adjacent, so 60 over x is equal to tan 15. Okay, so x is going to be equal to 60 divided by tan 15, and that will now be 60 divided by tan 15 is 0.2679, and that's going to give us 224 meters. Okay, which is B. Okay, I'm going to stop here, so you continue. There are still more questions. We are going to continue the rest in my next video. Okay, thank you very much. See you in my next video.